Hey, what's going on YouTube? PB the Fox here with the Ravnica Historical Society, back with another video. Today we're going to be playing some blue-white auras on the ladder, but first, we're going to talk about the World Championships, so let's jump into it. So I'll be the first to admit that I have not followed professional Magic or competitive Magic really since, like, 2018 probably. I know that it just gets worse and worse every year. They change the system all the time. They go to PTQs and then what was it, PPTQs and RPTQs, and then they had Grand Prix, and then they were Magic Fests, and like there were so many changes that didn't, it's not that they necessarily individually didn't make sense, but they happened so often that if you didn't pay attention to one of them and then another one came out, you were pretty lost. And if that happened like twice, you end up like me where you have no idea what's going on. So the big news right now is that the World Championship was supposed to have a prize pool of $1 million because historically the World Championship is supposed to be the most important tournament of Magic of the year. It's called the World Championships, which is kind of weird because even then it was basically just a pro tour with different formats. Like instead of just draft and standard or whatever, it had like all three formats, draft, standard, and modern, or whatever they were doing that year. Block sometimes. But I always felt like the World Championships lacked a defining thing. Like you won a pro tour, and depending on which pro tour it was, that either made you world champion or just a pro tour champion, but there didn't seem to be like clear differences between exactly what made the world champion a higher status to achieve than winning a pro tour, other than just they call it the world champion. So from what I can gather, there was this news update which came out on the 17th, and there's all this stuff. So you scroll down and it's talking about the Challenger Gauntlet. I have no idea what that is. And then the NPL Gauntlet and the Rivals Gauntlet, which I know that like Rivals is people trying to get into the MPL, and the MPL is just people who are higher up. Like the MPL system was stupid anyway. There's the Pro League, and I don't know what any of this stuff is. And you scroll down and blah blah, and they're talking about the MPL Gauntlet, which is a 24-player tournament, which a 24-player tournament, like, isn't that exciting to watch for me, because as a player who plays on the ladder and plays in events, I want tournaments that show me the best Magic players playing against a lot of other Magic players and showing me how a metagame shakes out. But when you distill an event to 24 players, there's so much inbreeding and there's so much prediction on what other teams and other players are going to be bringing, that the decisions made aren't based on like what can we play that's best in this format. It's what can we play that will win this 24-player tournament. So they're just like less exciting than something like a pro tour where there's hundreds of people playing who came from all over the world. Oop. So then we scroll down and we finally see the World Championship. And I'm pretty sure the way they announced this is just saying, through the gauntlets, the final field of Magic World Champion 27 emerges, taking place in October 8th to 10th with a $250,000 prize pool. The competition will be among the best of the best for Magic's most prestigious prize, which $250,000 is not a prestigious prize. That's been Pro Tour money for the longest time. It was supposed to be $1 million, but when Wizards decided, or Hasbro or whatever, decided a couple months ago that pro play was over, they also just cut the money, because why the hell not, right? And there was a thing on Twitter. We'll get to that in a second. Let's see. Reigning world champion Paulo will be joined by top MPL and rival players, these dudes, plus the hero of the gauntlets. So, like, I don't even understand. So the world champion of last year, and the top 4 of this, and the top 4 of the Pro League, and the top 4 of the Rivals League, and the winner of the Rivals Gauntlet, and the top 3, like, all of these different events feed into a world championship, but I don't understand what literally any of these events are, other than like I know what the MPL is and I know what the Rivals League is, sort of. I don't know what any of that other stuff is, and like I don't really care to learn what, like, none of this is exciting. Probably why they shredded the money in the first place, right? So then over here on Twitter, we have an open letter to the Hasbro CEO, B. Goldner. I don't even know who the hell that is. Brian Goldner. Sure, he doesn't care. I promise you. And the letter says, Mr. Goldner, we have decided to come forward through this open letter in response to the last-minute changes of upcoming Magic the Gathering, owned by Wizards of the Coast, World Championship, taking place 10-12 October, to provide a perspective that might not have been previously considered. As you might know, World Championship has been the peak of Magic's competitive season and the most watched tournament of the past years. It is an event where the very best players fight for the prestigious World Champion title. In a pool with only 16 players, it takes immense season-long efforts to qualify, which, as we saw before, all that stuff, yeah, that makes sense. Prize money earned at this event makes up a substantial chunk of yearly income for professional players, which, that's true, but they've already said that they don't care about professional players. Having these things in mind, not only does the recent announcement cause a serious financial blow to those involved, it has also come very late in the season, as multiple participants will have been locked in by the end of next week, undermining the decision process that has led them there and the time they have all invested to qualify. That's a fair statement. While we wouldn't like to use the word promise lightly, but in the least we were led to believe the prize pool was going to be $1 million, most notably in the article The Future of Magic Esports, which was published August 14th, 2019, so that is a very old article, compared to $250,000, into which it has been quietly changed last week. So from what I can gather, based on an article published in August 2019, which is pre-pandemic, people were led to believe that the World Championship was going to be $1 million, which if it was $1 million last year, then it's fair to assume that it should have been $1 million this year. But it was just changed to a quarter of that, which does suck if you've been spending all last year spending every waking moment of your life attempting to qualify for Worlds, which is another problem. With only 16 people, that's the other thing, is that you have to basically dedicate your entire life to qualifying for Worlds, instead of basically the old system where you were just qualifying for a Pro Tour. Anyway, the prize cut has been made without any discussion with players, no kidding, away from the sight of the Magic community, no kidding, which, not only for reasons mentioned above, is very unsettling. Sure. We would like to know if you are aware of this and support the decision made by Wizards of the Coast and took into account what this could do to Hasbro's public image. Let me save you some time. They do not give a fuck. Furthermore, we are kindly asking you to consider the impact this might have on the World Championship, which would have normally been the most anticipated and exclusive Magic event of the year. Well, if viewer numbers are any indication, it still will be the most watched thing, and it is the most exclusive Magic event of the year because there's only 16 people, unless you count the 8-player draft at your local game store. Respectfully, MPL and rival league members Stanislav Sivka, I think it is, Andrej, Ivan Flok, and Eli Cassis. A little bit strange that only 4 of them signed it. You would think that they would have passed this around a little bit and got more signatures, and if they did try that and it didn't work, maybe they just wouldn't post it. I think that this is, like, I get why they would write this letter, but it's a little bit complaining about things that you already knew. Like, specifically, where are we at here? Like, while we wouldn't like to use the word promise lightly, we were led to believe by this old-ass article that it would be $1 million. That's sort of fair. But also, with light of the pandemic and changes, like, I can understand why people are upset simply because that's a lot of money to take away from it. And very, very... Well, that's the thing. What is it? October 10th, right? So we have 1, 2, 3.5 months out. Like, that's not super right before. It's right before people start getting locked in, I suppose, but like it's ample time on a corporate timeline, right? 3.5 months before is like the best Hasbro's ever gonna do. Like where the first 3 paragraphs I can agree with. This is where I start to lose my agreement with the article, right? The prize cut has been made without any discussion with players. Like, of course they're not going to ask you, do you want us to cut the prize money? Because who's going to say yes? Like, your boss never comes in and says, hey, who wants to take pay cuts? Of course they're not going to talk about it with you guys. They're just going to do it and see what happens. Away from the sight of the Magic community, again, like, were they supposed to have a Twitch stream of their board meeting room where they decided they were going to cut the money? Like, of course they're not going to keep the community involved. It doesn't even affect the community. It affects these 16 players who are going to qualify. So the away from sight of the Magic community means nothing. Like, of course they didn't involve people who weren't involved. That makes sense. Which, not only for reasons mentioned above, is very unsettling. Like, that's a weird... Maybe English isn't the first language of the person who drafted this, because not only for reasons mentioned above is very unsettling. Like, they should either say more reasons. Like, it's just like, it's unsettling because we wanted more money, which, yeah, I get it. But That just reads strangely. We would like to know if you are aware of and support this decision made by Wizards of the Coast and took into account what this could do to Hasbro's public image. This is the worst line of the letter, because it's sort of like the veiled threat of like, we just want to know if you knew about this and if you thought about what this would do to your company. Like, if anyone's been paying attention to Magic over the last few years, nothing is going to hurt the sales of this company. You look at the Secret Lair rollouts, you look at the monetization of Arena, you look at pretty much anything. The way Wizards has handled competitive Magic over the last 3 or 4 years, they don't care. They don't have to worry about their public image, because Wizards of the Coast is basically a tobacco company. They can hurt you as much as you want. You can read an article every single day about how their product is bad for you and bad for your life and damages you, and you're still going to buy it and you're still going to enjoy it. So Hasbro had figured out a long time ago that their public image means nothing. Like, Wizards of the Coast is the company that takes the heat. Hasbro is the company that only people who are really invested in hating Wizards of the Coast even are aware that Hasbro has some measure of control behind this. The vast majority of kitchen table Magic, people probably know, like, oh, it's owned by Hasbro, and they don't care. Furthermore, we are kindly asking you to consider the impact this might have on the World Championship. Like, it's not going to have an impact on the World Championship unless the players do something about it, which is what people were talking about over here in the Reddit post. So people are like, what would be the best course of action? Refuse to play or refuse to show up? No. Is this being done IRL or is it still online? I don't know. Would Hasbro just replace them if they bailed? Probably. Like, if half of the pros decided we're just going to boycott Worlds like Jerry T did that one year, they would just grab people out of Twitch Rivals, out of the Rivals League. They can find 16 people who are willing to come to the World Championships to try to win money. And that's basically what people were talking about down here. Is like, it's kind of a real life prisoner's dilemma where either everybody has to like fake out that they're going to participate, and then at the last moment, like the day of, they need to just not do things, or they just have to go and play and deal with it and take the fraction of the money that they thought they were going to win and get screwed for like the 15th time in the last few years, which is what's going to happen. I can promise you that. Somebody talks about Blueprint for Revolution and using non-violent, civil disobedience tactics. They should mess with the format, play without rares or mythics. It would be embarrassing for Wizards. It would be a meme for the tournament. Commentators would have to explain every time what was happening and speculate about why, although I'm sure they'd be forbidden about mentioning the prize pool. There's no way the commentators could say, like, oh, maybe it's because we screwed our players. Of course not. It might actually be interesting to see what the pros do with it. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, here's somebody. This is a serious prisoner's dilemma thing. I agree with some of the comments in here. I'll leave a link to this thread in the comment or in the description of the video. There's some interesting things, mostly people saying garbage, but there's a few good letters or good comments. Basically, I think the best course of action would be for the 16 people to get together in a Discord and all do a handshake agreement of no matter what the outcome of the tournament is, we're all going to split the money evenly. We'll take our payments out, remove taxes, or if people really want to get into it, they can try to contact local tax professionals and figure out who should win the money to pay the least amount of taxes. I don't know if, depending on the country you're from, whether that changes. I've never won enough money in a Magic tournament for that to matter to me. But regardless of how that all shakes out, handshake agreement in a Discord call. Okay, no matter who finishes where, we're going to split this money evenly among the 16 of us, and then we're just going to embarrass the hell out of Wizards on camera for the entire weekend, because that's the only way that these players would be able to have an impact on this tournament, is by doing something like registering 75 lands, or playing, somebody said they should register all of the wrong color lands in their deck so that they can't cast any of their spells, so that the commentators have to sit there with an open deck list and say, well, it looks like even though he's playing a blue-white Yarion deck, he registered only mountains and swamps, so we don't think he can cast any of the spells. We're not sure why they would build their deck in this way. And just do stupid things like this. Like having both players mulligan down to 0 in every match would be funny. The post about the civil disobedience was on the right track of, if the players really want to get their message out, it's not by complaining and asking, hey, CEO, did you really think about what this would do to the public image of your company that can't be damaged at all? Like, Magic pros and Magic grinders really have a distorted view of what Magic as a company cares about, like what Wizards cares about, what the Magic brand is targeting. They don't care about screwing over professional players and aspiring professional players, because those people make up, I know this gets said over and over, but the professional scene is such a tiny fucking sliver of what makes the machine run. Like, it's not just about how many players play competitive Magic, but it's about the income of the business and what Magic generates. And Magic generates sales by making products that people want to buy. They don't generate sales by holding good tournaments. And I know the argument is that, oh, well, the Pro Tours and Magic Fest or Grand Prix and the World Championships is a marketing tool used to generate interest in the game. And that's true to a certain extent, but it's not a good way to reach new players, because a new player cannot watch a Magic tournament on Twitch and understand anything about what's going on. Even somebody who's been playing the game for a year casually with their friends still can't sit down and watch the World Championship and really follow anything of what's going on. The commentators do the best they can, but the reality is that Magic is just not a game that translates well to esports unless you're very invested in Magic, which Wizards, Hasbro, whoever, has clearly figured that out and realized that putting the money into this stuff isn't getting them the returns, whereas they can just put the money into designing things like Modern Horizon sets and Commander Legends and Secret Lair, and that's going to make them so much more money than the Pro Tour ever could have. Now, it's a goddamn shame that the Pro Tour has to die because of that, because realistically, having a $250,000 prize pool 4 times a year to hold the Pro Tour and flying people out there, like, this company could invest $5 million a year, $10 million a year into having these events and keeping people happy. But in the age of capitalism and quarterly expectations from investors, shaving $10 million out of your budget every year is an easy win. It fucking sucks, but that's the way it goes. So we'll leave the comment, or we'll leave the link to this in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about it. Like, obviously, I don't care. Most of you probably have an opinion, but it doesn't affect you. That's just the Magic news for today, right? Little news roundup. We'll play some games now and talk about the things that do affect us personally, which is how boring Historic is right now. We are in Diamond. Unfortunately, it's June 29th. I didn't play Magic all weekend, so we're not going to hit Mythic this season. Just because I'm going to have to grind a lot of games, unless I just go on like a 12-0 streak, which I guess is possible. But it's been so damn hot around here that sitting upstairs playing Magic is brutal, and I don't think I want to do it that much. Jeez. Some terrible hands here. That one's a keeper. We ship 2 cards, and we... Alright, opponent mulligan to 6. Like, to give you an idea of how freaking hot it is here. Opponent's on Loris too, that's cool. Go. It is 10:45 in the morning. I'm filming early today to try to keep my sanity from the heat, because I know if I wait until later, I'm just not going to be able to do it. Island Luris deck. He's on the same as me, so let's just get Core Spirit Dancer going. I think this is a mirror match, but we'll see. Yeah. There it is. Alright, what do we do? We do this. Take action. We want to draw the cards. Play our land. Attack. Opponent cannot block, so they take 6. We draw. And we have a Vigilant thing, so they have to have... Ooh, and we can block now. That's pretty good. End the turn. Ooh, double Spirit Dancer. Needs to be something good here, though. That's not good enough. Opponent can't attack. You cannot do this. And that's basically the game. Alright, game 2. The secret of the mirror match here, win the die roll, honestly. Setting the tempo of the game is so important. Let's see, we want removal. We don't really care about a Danto Vanguard. We just need... actually, we don't care about Puppy Dog, do we? Don't really care about Puppy Dog. Spell Pierce is... it's okay. Into the Royal and Unsummon can actually be nuts. Very good cards there. Probably better than this. Being on the draw, we need so much removal. We can cut one Spell Pierce. And maybe an Adanto Vanguard here. Like, countering the enchantments with Spell Pierce isn't great because they're going to keep drawing cards. We just need to counter the important ones, like Arcane Flight, but you can't really counter Arcane Flight because it costs 1 mana. By the time they're casting Arcane Flight on their thing, they can pay for the Spell Pierce tax. Do we just want them to be Dovin's Vetoes? That sort of seems better. Because we need to counter Staggering Insight, and like all that glitters is important. Countering all that glitters is big. Maybe the Aether Tunnel. I think this is the way. And maybe we bring in Cerulean Drake instead of Adanto Vanguard because they naturally fly. That's probably what we should have done. That's an oops. That's a better one. Keep the 6. Ship out. I think it's Dovin's Veto. That feels right. Intact. Deck it. As much as we want to play our core Spirit Dancer, we can't we lose that tempo. We saw in game 1, right? We lose that thing. See? Sometimes you only have one creature in your hand, and you get absolutely hosed. Let's risk the SRAM. We've taken back the initiative. Next turn we can cast Spirit Dancer and Staggering Insight. If our opponent doesn't have a creature, they will lose this game. He's going to draw... if they have to draw Loris, they lose. That's a promise. You can take that to the bank. Deck and stuff, sure. Yeah. We can still cast Elvis. Okay, that's not the worst. This is Spirit Dancer, followed up with... There's only 2 cards here, right? Yep. So, followed up with Staggering Insight. Draw the card. Not excited for that land. Ooh, rips a core Spirit Dancer. And can probably enchant it with something. Yep. Pretty good, pretty good. So we've got 3/5s. Their 3/5 has Vigilance. Oh. Oh my goodness. We're just punishing the opponent. Yeah, this is a G, I think. We're pulling pretty far ahead. We can still lose, but this is real good. Attack. Opponent just like has to block with the dog. I can't let us draw a card. Block, sack it. Don't let me gain the 6 life. There you go. There you go. And we cast the Vanguard here. And just put pressure on our opponent's life total. Do work, Spirit Dancer. Alright, what do we got here? We've got 2 draws next turn. Yeah, our opponent is... Yeah. That's an oops, though. You don't draw the card, it loses its abilities too. Huh, okay. Sure. Alright, hidden aura. There we go. Draw from my clue. That sucks. We'll go planes. They both attack. We hit for 9. If opponent blocks, we're happy. I will not pay the life. Point. Draw the card. Aether Tunnel. Big winner there. Big winner. Alright, let's see what happens. Oh, that's GG. Unfortunately, that's a GG. Win the die roll, and then play as a control deck in game 2 on the draw. You have to kill your opponent's stuff. Also, just draw as well as we did. The drawing 2 removal spells is also pretty big. But that's the thing. That's why we bring in 2 decks, 2 Heliod's Punishment, and an Unsummon, and an Into the Royal. Like, Unsummon is sort of a removal spell there. It's not quite as good, but the tempo, especially, like, if you can Unsummon and drop 3 auras off something, big. We're going to cut the video there because we spent, again, 20 minutes ranting today. But let me know in the comments. What do you guys think about this Worlds thing? Do you even care? Let me know what you're thinking about Historic. Do you even play it anymore? The videos have been getting way less views, I think, because people just don't care about this format right now. How do you feel about the errata thing? I think it would be awesome, but we'll see. Is it even announced in here yet? No. But it's coming up. But it's coming up. So thanks for watching, everybody who's been hanging out. Stay cool if it's hot where you are. That's what I'm going to be doing the rest of the day. We're going to get this video edited, and then we're going to hide from the heat for the rest of our lives. As always, I've been PB the Fox with the Ravnica Historical Society. You've all been awesome. I just poked my microphone, and we'll see you back tomorrow on Wednesday. Take care, everyone.